Did you know one of the most famous bank robbers in the world was Jesse James? You need to know about Jesse James because he is an important part of U.S. history. Today, we will talk about Jesse's early life, his midlife, and the end of his life. I will begin today by talking about Jesse's early life. Here are his parents. Autobiography.com says, American outlaw, robber, and legendary figure Jesse Woodson James was born on September 5, 1847, in Kearney, Missouri. His parents were farmers. His father, Reverend Robert James, was a Baptist preacher who was married to Zerelda James. There isn't much about Jesse's early life until he turned 16 and his family farm was attacked by Union soldiers. After this, Jesse turned to hate for Union soldiers and decided to join a Confederate gang. Quote, 16-year-old Jesse joins the Bushwhackers. Eventually, he links up with William Anderson, a guerrilla so brutal and murderous he earns the nickname Bloody Bill. End quote, according to PBS.org. Now that I've talked about Jesse's early life, let's talk about Jesse's midlife. From 1860 to 1882, the James Gang was the most feared band of outlaws in American history, responsible for more than 20 bank and train robberies and the murders of countless individuals who stood in their way, says thefamouspeople.com. Jesse was a notorious and well-known bank robber who led a busy life, but somehow had time for love. He married his first cousin Z in 1874. For most of his robbing career, he led his own gang called the James Younger Gang, which consisted of Jesse and Frank James, 2 younger brothers, and 9 other members. After a failed bank robbery that caused most of his gang to pass away, he had to try and find other partners, which in turn led him to his demise. Now that I have talked about Jesse's midlife, let's talk about the end of Jesse's life. Near the end of Jesse's life, he was a very wanted man, and he hired a man he thought he could trust, known as Robert Ford, to protect him. This ended badly for him, if you couldn't already tell. In the fall of 1881, a meeting was arranged between Robert Ford and Governor Thomas Crittenden, during which Ford agreed to capture Jesse James. Ford would later claim he had agreed to get Jesse dead or alive, according to Grunge.com. After breakfast, on April 3rd, 1882, Jesse turned to straighten a picture on a wall of his home, and Robert shot Jesse in the back of the head. Jesse died instantly at age 34, says biography.com. In conclusion, Jesse James led a dangerous and eventful life, which formed his fame and is why many know his name today. Today, I have told you about Jesse's early life, his midlife, and the end of his life. Jesse James may have died over 200 years ago, but in the 34 years he lived, he made a greater impact than we could ever dream for ourselves.